In today's education news, let's have a look through Bridget Phillipson's statement that was released today. Let me start by just saying how refreshing it is to read through a statement from an education secretary where I'm actually nodding along going, they get it. They actually get it, rather than just being in complete bewilderment as to what planet they live on. But today, Bridget Phillipson has announced that they are accepting the STRB recommendations, which is implementing a substantial pay award for school teachers and leaders of 5.5% from September. They're also confirming that this is going to be fully funded at a national level and providing schools with almost 1.1 billion in additional funding for the year 24-25 to support them with overall costs, which is definitely a step in the right direction. They are delivering this 1.1 billion through a new core schools budget grant, providing 945 million for mainstream schools, 140 million for high needs and 11 million for centrally employed teachers. Now, if you do want to know more and know what your school will be expecting through the CSBG, you can find out more on the gov.uk website. I've not looked at that yet. I need to take some time to digest it, but just the fact this is being announced, more funding is being announced, that pay award is going to be fully funded, is music, I know, to so many teachers' ears. We would all welcome more pay, but the worry for a lot of teachers was making sure it was fully funded and not coming out of existing school budgets when we're all struggling so much at the minute. Now, what I found even more interesting are these announcements about improving the experience of being a teacher in schools. So they're actually starting to talk about reducing workload, improving well-being, which I've said is the biggest issue around retention. Pay obviously is important, but unless we address those workload issues, we're not going to improve things. So they're talking about removing the requirement for schools to use performance-related pay to reduce the workload burdens that this can have on some schools. They're also going to be updating guidance on appraisals, capability and pay today to support those schools that choose not to use performance-related pay to inform their pay progression decisions. But this point is also really interesting. They're going to clarify the position on PPA time, so schools are clear that teachers can use this time at home to provide greater flexibility for teachers. Now, I've said one of the best ways in which it can improve the well-being is if we actually increase PPA time. I think if that was to be extended to a day, but that day can be taken at home, I think that would make a massive difference. Obviously, there's no discussion about increasing PPA, but the fact that the government are talking about teachers having that opportunity, because it's so different school to school. Some schools you've got to be in school. Some schools are monitoring your PPA time, which goes to show how toxic some schools are. Other schools, you're allowed to take it from home as long as you're getting the work done. You're sort of trusted in that way. So the government backing that, I think, is really, really positive. So I've linked the full statement in the description of this video, so please do go and give it a full read. I've just highlighted a few things, but I'd love to know what you think. Like I say, this for me shows that they're not all the same. The fact that we've just not had to argue or strike about the pay, they've just awarded it, it's fully funded, is massive. But also these points they're making on well-being, it really feels that we're starting to turn a bit of a corner with it. Still a long way to go, obviously. What further changes would you like to see? But I do think this is a step in the right direction.